Alright, hello and welcome to everyone. Today our guest is UFC legend, I can freely say UFC legend Alex Caceres, UFC veteran. So Alex, can you please say a few words about yourself, just few, two, three short sentences so we can kick off. Go for it.
Okay, hello, my name is Alex Caceres. I've been in the UFC for nearly the past 10 years and um, your friendly neighborhood martial artist.
Outstanding. Can you please elaborate your moniker, your nickname, Bruce Leroy?
Well, Bruce Leroy, they started calling me that when I was younger, when I started training, because I looked like the kid from The Last Dragon, the movie. It was in the 70s or the 80s, I believe, and it starred Timac, and he played Bruce Leroy, the Last Dragon. But I've always enjoyed the name just because when I first heard it, I never seen the movie. So to me, I associate it with Bruce Lee and his philosophies and ideals. So that's how the nickname kind of started.
So I assume your basic fighting style has something to do with Jeet Kune Do, or
Not necessarily Jeet Kune Do, just the principles of his philosophy, where um, there was no style or a type of way of fighting. It's just the way that you are going to move and the way you're going to fight or express yourself in such endeavors.
when did you start training MMA? You said you participate in the greatest promotion for nearly a decade.
So I started training MMA when I was about 14, going on 15, and it began in the high school wrestling room. That's where I met my friend Enrico Coco, and he introduced me into mixed martial arts.
Fantastic. Who are your coaches today?
My coaches today, Manuel Lopez. He is my original coach. I'm also taking one of my training partners, Landry, and I'm hoping to meet Benson Henderson out there in Vegas.
Fabulous. Do you have a favorite strike or submission?
Not necessarily in particular. I like it all, but I guess if it's something that I am a little bit more partial to, I do like triangle chokes.
Outstanding. So, uh, can you please talk about your first amateur fight and who was the toughest amateur opponent you've ever met? I know it was a long time ago, but first time they say it's never forgotten, right?
Well, I my first amateur fight ever was an amateur kickboxing fight,
Okay?
and I remember that fight. Like the nerves were incredible. Like it was very nerve wracking, and but I was excited. I guess there was more anxiety than nervousness or fear. And I remember during the fight, he kicked me really hard in the stomach, and I fell over, and they gave me a standing 8 count. And when I saw the referee stand over me, give me the standing 8 count, I freaked out, and I thought like they were going to call the fight. So I stood up and tried to pretend nothing was wrong with me, but then it was like, no, it's just standing 8 count. And then I got really, really excited. So when the bell rang again for us to fight again, I ended up giving him a nice solid uppercut, which put him on the floor, and then I won the fight that way.
Outstanding. So I assume that was your toughest amateur fight, right?
Yes, and the first one.
Fantastic. Can you discuss your first professional MMA fight?
Oh, that one, like a blink of an eye, to be honest with you. I barely remember the lead up to the whole fight. I just remember being in there. It seemed like tunnel vision. Could not see anything but my opponent, and I can't remember exactly what happened, but I remember I threw a jab. Um, he went. I think he went for a takedown, or I did, and I somehow just got behind him and then got a rear naked choke, and it ended right there.
Your third fight. Do you remember a third fight against Eric Kovarik?
No, I don't remember the name, but I mean, how did that fight end?
That is the fight you finished via rear naked choke, KOTC Hurricane.
Oh, okay. I do remember that fight.
That fight.
Okay, that fight was pretty fast too. It was just like the first one.
Yeah, yeah. Alright, I was about to ask you your first submission loss. Then you bounced, then you had your first submission loss. I believe it was a guy, Farkad Sharipov. So, how did it happen actually? Your first loss? I mean,
Well, that was a weird fight. I have to admit, because I felt like it was in a ring first of all, and I remember him taking me down. in the second round, I believe, and I had a rear naked. I mean, I had a guillotine on him, and I was choking him, and I felt like I had it in deep. And then I felt that he tapped, and then the referee came and grabbed us, like stopped us. So I thought the fight was over, but he just grabbed us and moved us to the center of the ring and told us to keep going. But I thought I won already, and then the fight kept continuing, and then he ended up eventually getting me in a guillotine choke, I believe.
Yeah. All right. Now UFC debut. That's an easier one. Go for it.
UFC debut. I actually lost that fight. I remember getting in there. I think it was Mac and Semazir, and I remember I started off pretty hot. I came out there and just landed the first combination really quick, and I think I busted his nose open, and then he immediately took me down and took my back and finished me there.
All right. Just tell me one thing. I was a super big fan of Damasio page earlier, and you pretty much, according to me, you destroyed Damasio page. So, what do you think of that fight?
That fight was, honestly, like that was one of the scariest fights, because Damasio Page looks scary.
Yes.
So, and he was pretty stocky, but I knew I was better at striking than him, and I guess he felt that way too. So I know I was getting the better of him on the feet and moving around. He couldn't catch up to me. But then I went for a flying knee, and I hit him in the chest, and I felt like it landed in deep. But then he was able to secure that takedown. But it was right there where I was able to put the triangle choke on him. And I think I tried for it twice, and the second time got him.
You did
but
it was a
pretty.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. Go for it. I said you did a great job. Go for it.
Because I just felt like it was a pretty light fight, just because like the whole time, like I knew what he was dangerous at, and I knew he was a dangerous fighter, so it was pretty exciting.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. When I was watching that fight, I was like, all right. I was thinking like, all right, this is gonna be a long one. Damasio Page is a very tough opponent, and so. But when you start in raining big shots, I was like, maybe this is the upset of the evening. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, and I noticed that with a lot of my fights is just, and that's why I spend a lot of time, and I'm trying very hard and very adamantly to try and improve my takedown defense and my grappling as well, because I do feel like when it comes to any fight that I'm in, my striking is usually levels beyond my opponent, and they know that, so they try to nullify my striking by taking me down and keeping the fight on the floor. So I've been working on that a lot lately, especially because I do want to showcase that high level of striking that I know that I have, and I think it'll be a very beautiful thing and a very wondrous thing to watch as well.
Yeah, I agree too. And another fight that came to my mind when I first talked to you was the fight against Showtime's brother Sergio Pettis. Can you explain that fight, please?
And that fight was it was one of those fights where I enjoyed it. Mind you, I was cutting down to 135. So I was competing with faster strikers, but Sergio Pettis is a world-class striker. He has some of the best striking in his weight class or in his division, and I feel like just to show that I was able to put on a striking performance so good that it made him initiate the takedown and try to submit me, which led to his downfall. So that was a very fun fight, though. I enjoy striking competitions. I like those back and forths.
How was your fight against Uriah Faber? He is the real legend of this sport. What can you say about that fight? It was an awesome one. To me, it was an awesome one. What do you think?
I felt like my performance was good in that fight. I made a couple mistakes that led to my downfall in that fight, but I felt really good. I had a lot of things to take away from it. I knew I gave him a lot of trouble during that fight, and at that moment, I knew that, even with the best in the world, they don't want to strike with me. And really, I just need one thing to work on. That's what I've been focusing and working on so that I can showcase that ability of mine.
My next question is exactly the thing you said right now. How did you fought toe-to-toe with Jair Rodriguez? Just tell me that, please.
I felt good. I felt I don't know. I felt like we hit each other a lot, and it might be biased on my end, but I felt like I was hitting him harder. Just due to the marks on the face, the cuts and everything. I felt like I was landing him harder. It was a very close fight, I felt too, but I also felt that I should have done just a little bit more my first 5 round fight. So there was times where I felt like I was trying to conserve energy. But other than that, it was one of my, I guess, better showcases of my techniques and whatnot against a really good striker.
Yeah, but according to me, Yair Rodriguez is one of the greatest strikers in the division, and you literally fought toe to toe all the time. I was like, this guy is amazing. After that fight, I mean, to me, it was the fight of the night. Don't know whether you got the purse or not, but to me, it was the fight of the night.
Yeah, we did.
You
We did.
did? Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't remember now, but it was an awesome one. What can you say about your fight against Rolando Dai, sorry.
Um, See, that was a. I feel like and I don't like to compare things too much, but I feel like that fight is kind of similar to what this fight feels like for me now. Um, I went into that fight, especially knowing that they're putting me up as a gatekeeper for new fighters coming in, and so I went into that fight knowing that he did not belong in there with me, that I needed to get myself out of that position. And I feel the same way with this fight, that when I go into this fight, I have one mindset and goal. I'm there to take him out from out of my way. It's just another obstacle because I know that in my hearts of hearts, he doesn't belong in there with me. And I'm going to go in there and I'm going to take it from him for sure.
That's great. Can you please tell me why UFC insists you to be their gatekeeper?
Well, well, quite honestly, we have to look at my track record. It hasn't been perfect at all. Um, I'm a 500 fighter in the UFC rankings at the moment, and I think it's just and fair that they're allowed to do this for me, whether I agree or not. That they're allowed to look at me in that way, and it's on my part to prove them wrong or show them that I do need to climb up in those rankings.
Two more of your fights that were also fantastic to me were the ones against Martin Bravo and Steven Peterson. What can you say about these fights?
Those were more the grueling fights. Those were more, stand and trade kind of fights. Um, they were very enjoyable. I like striking fights. I like fights where we're gonna really mix it up. Martin Bravo stood with me to the end. He was a tough guy, and he kept coming forward no matter how many times I would hit him. And I dropped him a couple times, I feel like, in that fight, and he's just, punch drunk or not, he just kept on coming in, landing pretty decent shots. Stephen Peterson, I felt was a little bit more, even though I broke my hand in the first round of that fight, I felt it was
I
easier to
didn't know
control
that.
him in that fight more because he kept driving forward.
So you broke your hand. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I broke it in the first punch in the first round.
And you continued fighting.
Yes.
That's outstanding. So, alright, against Kron, I watched the fight. I think he surprised you with that. I'm not sure, but
Yeah, definitely. He definitely surprised me with that. I felt like I pushed the pressure a little bit too much, which allowed him to close the distance really fast, and he was really quick at those changes. And I felt I trained really well for that fight. We had a great camp. I trained with some of the best grapplers, but you know, it happens. Sometimes you get caught.
yeah, I know. And now, there is one thing according to me. A journalist should be neutral. But I'm not gonna be neutral. I'm always honest, and fighters mostly appreciate me because of that. So, Chase Hooper, everybody think he is going to win. To be honest, I gave you more chances. So, what can you say about the upcoming fight?
Well, I know how everybody feels, because it comes right back down to the matchup as well. When people see me lose or do poorly, it's when I'm matched up with really strong grapplers, and not all the time. Just whenever I do lose, it's usually because of that. So I can see where in people's minds that I'm facing a really strong grappler or a black belt in jiu-jitsu, so they automatically assume that it's going to be completely one-sided or it's going straight towards my weak point. I understand that, but as martial artists, we all try to get better and we all try to advance in our skills and cover the holes in our game plan, and that's what I've been doing. So to think one way because of past assumptions or preconceived notions, it's all right. I mean, that's how basic humans function to survive. But I know what we've been working on, and I know that he only has one way to beat me, and before we get there, we're going to have to we're gonna have to throw some punches first. So the ball's in my court at the beginning of the fight. So we're gonna see how it plays out.
Yeah, I'm sure of that too. If he doesn't take you down, I'm 100% sure that you're going to win the fight. And I also said that, and people were even telling me that I have mental issues or such things. Never mind, but I'm
Well, I mean,
100% sure of that. Go for
they
it.
can go back to the fight with Cole Miller. They can go back to the fight with Cole Miller that I had in California, and I took that fight on short notice. And he's a black belt in jiu-jitsu, and he's 6'2" and very tall and long, and he's good at and he's really good on the ground. And you can go back and pick apart that fight and see what happens to a person that just wants to grapple me.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. And I hope I gave you more chances, and I hope. Not I'm hoping, I'm sure 100% you'll put on a show, and it will be an intriguing fight to watch. Would you please like to add something, maybe to greet your sponsors, or is there something we missed?
I can't think of anything at the moment. I just want to say thank you everybody for wishing me luck and checking out this interview, and thank you for watching the fights coming this Saturday. And be sure to keep watching because I'm going to put on a show.
Absolutely. I will now push the video creating. I hope I will publish it maybe in 3-4 hours. I'll just put it now creating, and we'll see. Thank you so much for this lovely interview, and I'm sure 100% you'll put on a show, and I hope for a win on Saturday.
All right. Thank you very much.
Alright, thank you so much, Alex. Have a great
All
day.
right. Peace.